Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel, Wrestling with Books. My name is Nina, and today we're going to be talking about 7 of my favorite self-help books that I have read. Sounds like I need it when I'm surrounded by the sounds of sirens, you know, and ambulances as soon as they start to film, but that's just Main Street life. Yeah, so I have been reading self-help, self-growth, nonfiction books, whatever you want to call it, for over 10 years. When I was 19, I was diagnosed with cancer. And so in my early 20s is when I got really into reading these self-growth books and self-help books, and I mean, just totally just loved the whole scene of it. So I still read them, but a lot of the ones I've picked for this list are a bit of older releases. Older, not as in like, you know, the Wallace Wattles books, and you know, it's not Napoleon Hill. Like it's within the past, you know, 30 years. You know, maybe less than that, I don't know. But anyway, so self-growth means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So these 7 that I selected have different things that they cover and different aspects of your life that you may be seeking something in. But I think it's an important time of year to maybe spotlight some of these books, because if we're able to just comfort our minds and, you know, improve whatever it is that's troubling us in our lives, and that's a win. And a lot of the things that I found I have succeeded with, I look back on these books I've read and it's kind of like seeing the trail. Let's take it away, guys. I'm gonna start with, this book is like one of the meccas for me, and I discovered this author, this book, this movement through Oprah. The book is called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. And Louise Hay, gosh, so when was this published? Okay, this was published in 1984. So this is probably going to be the oldest book on this list. And Louise Hay's message is that if you're willing to do the mental work, anything can be healed. And so this obviously was really important to me to read post-cancer and everything, but it wasn't presented to me from a health side. It was much more materialistic, and then it kind of tricked me into being able to do the health work. So I first heard about it on an episode of Oprah when she was talking about the secret, which is that your thoughts turn into reality. So, you know, imagining I'm driving a, you know, beautiful car, and then eventually it becomes to be that sort of aspect. But Louise Hay uses that philosophy on how you can improve the elements of your life, and it is truly a comforting and remarkable book. At some of like the saddest points in my life, I would listen to this book while, you know, going to school, because it would just keep me inspired and keep me going, and it makes you feel a bit more in control. So some people don't love the aspect of the book from a scientific perspective, but if you're able to take it from an open mind and not replace thoughts with medicine, I think you'll be in good shape. I'm looking to see if there are any quotes that I can access that people like from the book, but I think I'm only able to see that if it's linked up with my highlights, which does not seem to be. So I will move on. I will move on. But so yeah, if you're science, you may not like this. So that's like a disclaimer, you know, because yeah, I just recently got over a cold and I was trying to think myself out of it, and it just didn't happen. So keep that in mind. And the next book I am picking, it's another author who loves Louise Hay, and who has been on Oprah, who I was introduced to on Oprah. Her name is Cheryl Richardson, and the book is called The Art of Extreme SelfCare. Transform your life 1 month at a time. And I remember reading this, gosh, like I guess well over a decade ago, in a Starbucks. It's like a long book, like not in size and like length, like it's almost more looks like a coffee table type of book. It's not long, but the biggest takeaway that is still with me from this book is that the art of extreme self-care is learning how to say no, or being able to say no. So if you struggle with being able to say no to people in your life, then I would add this book to your list, because it's, you know, as somebody who read it over 10 years ago, I still hear Cheryl stressing that in my head. So if that's important for you, I definitely recommend it. Next up, okay, so this is a book I read for a specific issue in my life I wanted to tackle. This was published in 1994. It's called I Could Do Anything If Only I Knew What It Was. And it's by Barbara Scheer and Barbara Smith. And I had been struggling a lot with what I wanted to do with my life. What's interesting is because I'm 34 now. So when I graduated high school and went into college, that was like the first year of Facebook for colleges, where you had to have like a college address. So what I do now for a living, which is social media, did not exist as a profession when I was graduating. So it's so interesting how I was going through this struggle, and now what I do now didn't even exist then. But this book helped me so much for setting that path and figuring out what I wanted to do, not being afraid about what I wanted to do, and being able to talk about it. So I remember them telling a story that somebody wanted to like train snow dogs, something ridiculous like that, like dog sledding. They want to be a dog sledder. And so they mentioned it to their hairdresser, and their hairdresser knew somebody, and then they got a job doing it. It really stressed me that I have to vocalize what it is I want to do and let people in on it, and, you know, expand my possibilities. So then I started saying to my parents, you know, social media is growing. I have this really successful blog that I can use on my resume, and I want to do this. And then my dad ended up chatting with somebody who owned a wedding venue, and they were looking for someone doing social media, and so it just happened. And so if you're struggling, you know, with your career or what you want to do with your life, I would recommend, of course, because it's on this list, I would recommend this book. Now, I mentioned how on Oprah they were talking about the law of attraction, which is how thoughts become things. And a big book about that is The Secret. And they get really into the materialistic aspects of manifestation and bringing things into your life. Let's say you're a YouTuber, they would talk about how you can manifest, I feel great now that I have 10,000 subscribers. You know, and you would do affirmations on it and tap into the feeling and live your life as if you have 10,000 subscribers, etc. You might be hearing my laundry in the background, just so you know. So I like The Secret a lot, but sometimes I want to hear the same message in a different way. And one day I was at the mall and I was handed a book just for free, a brand new free book, and it was The Secret to Teen Power. So it is The Secret, but it is written, you know, towards teens. But I really needed that. I was in, you know, like I said, a lot of these books I discovered in my young 20s. I was dealing with a lot of insecurity and, you know, friendships that maybe were surface level and things like that. And this book really resonated with me. And even as an adult, I recommend it because it's self-help. You can get a lot of the same messages, especially if you're into the law of attraction. A lot of the books are sharing the same message, but just in totally different ways. So I really appreciated the way this book shared its message. And this is by Paul Harrington. Another topic that, you know, that was really heavy on my mind in that age, that decade of life, was relationships. And so, you know, I read a book about careers and this and that, but the most impactful book I read about relationships was called Calling in the One by Catherine Woodward Thomas. Wow. Okay, so she had a course with this. This was published in 2004, and she had a course with it. Maybe this is like 2008. And you have to know, at this time, there were no Facebook groups. It was like email and message boards. How this online course was done. And oh my gosh, but you get everything in the book itself. Just do the the lessons that she has in it, because let me tell you, it really helped me with knowing what I want in a partner, knowing what I want to be in myself, and attracting that into my life. I think, you know, one of the biggest successes of my life has been, you know, meeting my husband and our relationship, and it's just been such a blessing in my life. But I don't think it just happened. You know, Tommy and I lived in the same area our whole lives. We went to the same wrestling events, the same autograph signings, but we didn't meet until, you know, a certain time. And I think it's because, you know, I was aligning myself to meet him and appreciate him. And if I'd met him at a different time, maybe before this book, I don't think I would have seen him like I do and like I did. I totally, if you're looking to attract in a relationship, or even maybe to improve ones you already have, calling in the one was a huge impact on my life. The next book on my list is The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. Now, this may sound like, you know, for a romantic couple, but let me tell you, this is about the way people understand each other and the way people relate to one another. And people have their own love language. It could be through material gifts, words of affection, acts of service. There's a few more different ones. And what that means is when, let's say, when my husband empties the dishwasher for me, that's him saying, I love you. And for me, it's when I buy Tommy something that's on his wish list, that's me saying, I love you. And if you don't understand somebody's love language, you miss out on the fact that they're saying, I love you. So for my parents, you know, I don't think my mom ever gets that whenever my dad brings her something home, he's saying, I love you, because she's looking at the dishwasher going, you don't love me, I need help with the dishes. I know that sounds crazy, but it's so helpful to know the love language of the people in your lives. It's really going to help you relate to them better and understand them better, and thus love them better. Because if I know that your love language is terms of endearment, I'm going to make sure to actually say, you know, I love you. Thank you, you look great, etc. So there is a test you can take for this online, and I recommend you do it and that you send it to everybody you know. The last book that I'm going to include on this list of 7 self-help books, by the way, if you enjoyed this and would like me to do 7 more or to do specific categories, here I sprinkled in a few of them, let me know in the comments and I would love to do that. But for the category of money, I am selecting Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Now, this book was published in 1997, and even though things have changed with money and how we obtain, spend, Bitcoin, etc., the principles in this book ring and remain true. He has written a lot of other books since then, so you always could pick up some of the newer books if you really like the beliefs in this book. But he goes into it's not about being a monetarily rich dad or poor dad, it's about mindset. So to him, the rich dad knew how to leverage his money to not be physically working as much. For example, maybe owning properties and having a property manager, etc. He knew how to have his money work for him. Where the poor dad was more literally working for his money, working long hours, making money in turn of it, but maybe not enjoying his time, working literally for that money. So if that's a topic you'd like to explore, this book was really fantastic at explaining it and keeping you feeling inspired. He has a podcast, online courses, lots of videos online. So here we go again, ambulance. So, oh, it's getting closer. I'm trying to wait for it to pass, but I don't know where it's going. There it goes. I hope everybody's safe. If this is something that you think you want to explore, he has a lot of different ways that you can do it and that you can check that out. So that is a wrap up on my favorite self-help books. This is the first time I am getting into this topic exclusively on my channel. I have done a video on my favorite audiobooks, so I'll link that on this end screen that should be popping up, because I do feature some of the books mentioned here and some others, because I do love to take in self-help on audiobooks. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you on the next video here on Wrestling with Books. You can also check out my other channel, Wrestling with Disney, where I talk about my nerdy passions of wrestling, Disney, and maybe some other things. See you next time, guys. Bye-bye.